We're going to start our review on statistics, which are standards SP1 through 4. SP1 through 3 will all be in this video about scatter plots. SP1 is specifically about scatter plots. So we're going to look at problem number 1. It says the scatter plot shows the number of visitors at an art show in relation to the admission price. What does point A on the graph represent? So here's point A on the graph. It's where the admission price is $20 and where the attendance is a little over 125, we'll say maybe about 130 people. So we could say something to the effect of at $20 admission, about 130 people attended. Part B on the same problem says what type of relationship exists between the admission price and the number of visitors? Well, we can see as the admission price increases, the number of visitors decrease. So that would be a negative association, and it does seem to follow close to a straight line path. We could see that if we were to draw a trend line, it would kind of go through about like that. Number 2, what is a scatter plot? It is simply answer choice C, a display of points that show the relationship between two data sets. Number 3 says the table below shows the temperature of the day and the number of bottles of water sold. Use the data to construct a scatter plot. And as you can see, the temperature of the day in degrees Fahrenheit is along the x-axis of your graph, and the number of bottles of water sold are along the y-axis. So we're just going to plot these as ordered pairs. So I have 2015. And I'm going to cross through it when I'm done with each ordered pair. Then 30-10, then 40-20, then 40-25, then 55-30, 75-35, 80-35, 80-40, 95-50, and 145. So we've constructed a scatter plot. Standard SP2 is still about scatter plots, but it focuses on a line of best fit. It focuses on drawing trend lines. So number 1, draw a trend line for the scatter plot. I want a line that is centered through the points, and it has about the same number of points above and below the line. So I might have something like this. In fact, that looks a little bit high. So I'm going to go back and say maybe something more like that. That looks a little too low. But it's kind of an estimate, so it's not going to be very exact. I like that trend line a little bit better. What kind of relationship exists between the two sets of data in item 1? Well, it's clearly a positive linear association. It's going up to the right, and it follows a straight line path. Number 4, can you use a trend line to describe the relationship between the two sets of data for this graph? No. This is very scattered. This would be no association. SP3 is about writing equations for trend lines. We're going to use these in y equal mx plus b. Looking at number 2, it says the slope of the trend line for the data shown is 32. What is true in terms of slope? Well, slope just means that the words typed increases about 32 words per minute. Number 4 says the scatter plot shows the distance a car is driven compared to the thickness of the tire treads. What is the y-intercept, and what does it represent in this situation? Well, it's where it crosses the y-axis at 25, so B is 25. And in terms of tire treads, it's the thickness of treads, and it's where it has driven 0 kilometers, so on new tires. For items 5 through 7, use the scatter plot. The scatter plot shows the time spent at hockey practice each week compared to goals scored at games. What is the equation of the trend line? So we need to know two things, M and B. I can tell B the y-intercept real quick by looking on the y-axis, and I say, okay, B is 2. To get the slope, M, I'm going to take the change of y divided by the change of x. In this case, I need to pick 2 points that the line would clearly go through. They do not have to be scatter plot points. They just need to be points that fall on this line. So I can tell this trend line goes through here where x is 5 and y is 6. So I'm going to find that by saying, okay, the change of y is it goes up 2 places, which is actually 2 units per place, so it goes up 4 goals. And then it goes to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. So the slope is 4/5. So in y equal mx plus b, that is answer choice B. Number 6, what does the rate of change or slope represent in this situation? Well, we know that slope m is change of y divided by the change of x. In that case, y is goals scored over x, which is hours. So I could just simplify it by saying it means that the goals scored increases 4/5 of a goal per hour. Number 7 says predict the goals scored by a player who practices 5 hours a week. That's where x, the time, is 5. I could look at it in a graph by saying, okay, right here is where x is 5, and that is at this point where the goals scored are 6. So I can answer that by saying that it is 6. Option 2 is especially if the point does not fall on the graph. This is where it is not on graph. I can take my equation, y equal 4/5 x plus 2, plug in x, which is 5, and simplify, and I get 6 that way as well.